So this is going to be, I believe it's episode, I believe this is going to be part 5. Alright, so we're at part 5. And I have a few words I want you guys to take note of. I want you to remember this word. Spaska. I want you to remember that. Take a note of that word. Alright. So, Chernobyl Village. When I was on the Chernobyl tour, I believe this was on the first day I was there. So we drive through Chernobyl town. Yeah, I was on the first day, I remember. We drive through the village of Chernobyl, and we go down, and they tell us about the Jews that were living there. And there's something interesting about these Jews. I didn't know this at the time. I'm at the time I knew about the prophecy of Chernobyl. I did not know really I knew what a Jew was. Vaguely, a little. But I didn't know anything in detail. I didn't know as much as I do now. I could not do what I'm doing here in these videos back then. And that was in June of 2021. So, we're going to talk a little bit about Chernobyl Town. It was first mentioned in 1193 AD. I said 1190 earlier. So Chernobyl is over 800 years old, much older than the city of Pripyat. They don't know this for sure because it was first mentioned, but there's maps that have been discovered that go way even before the Kievan Rus. So we don't actually know when it was created. It was a small medieval settlement located on the Pripyat River. At the time, it was part of Kievan Rus, the ancient Slavic Federation. First official record of Chernobyl, the first official record, so it existed before then. Small trading and religious, many Jews, Poles, Ukrainians lived there. Remember the Jews. Quiet town, nothing major until Soviet industrial projects. Chernobyl nuclear power built nearby, about 15 kilometers away. In the 1970s. How long is 15 kilometers to? It's 9 miles. So I was right. It was about 5 to 8 miles away from Chernobyl, from the town of Chernobyl. Okay, so 1986 nuclear disaster, Chernobyl catastrophe, town evacuated soon after. This is part of the exclusion zone. Alright. What does Chernobyl actually mean? We talked about this. It's a time of wormwood. The same wormwood mentioned in Revelation. It means black. Chernobyl means black or dark. Bol means grass, stalk or herb. Black grass or black stalk, clearly plant on bitterness and darkness. Chernobyl was excellently named. It was wormwood long before the nuclear disaster ever happened, even before the Soviet Union came along. The town's very name prophesies bitterness, spiritual poisoning, and hidden death. You could even say, I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna make a note here. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I would say Jews named Chernobyl. So this would be the Jews from Israel. Where else would they come from, right? Just like Pripyat, Chernobyl sat next to the river life. Whereas this was to unleash bitterness onto the world. I'm going to get more into that. It was a hidden war planted centuries ago waiting for its hour. The town of Chernobyl was already named for that judgment 800 years earlier. Even before that, like I said. Pripyat River, ancient source of water. Chernobyl town, probably even as ancient. Cedar bitterness. Pripyat City, 1970, symbol near but spiritually dead. Alright, so the Jews in Chernobyl, they actually had their own district. And during World War II, they were actually part of the Holocaust. They were actually, when Nazi Germany came in, they were actually, killed and all that. But they lived on a particular street. And the street was later called the Lenin, it's called Lenin Street, which is actually one of the rare times that the Soviet Union named a street after Lenin that wasn't the main street, because usually your main street was called Lenin Street. But the street they lived on was known as I'm just going to put it simply, it was called Spaska Street. So, and Spaska means, it means something like to follow Christ, to be led by Christ. So they had this street called the Follow Christ Street, or to be led by Christ Street. So you could say that's the main reason why they called that Lenin Street, so they could hide that. So, but the thing about that is these would not be normal Jews, because normal Jews would not name something after Christ. So these would have to be Messianic Jews. Messianic Jews believe that Christ is who he says he is, and those would be the Messianic Jews. The ones who don't are just called Jews. Let's see if it can figure that out, because you do have to read in between the lines there, because you have to know what Spaska means. Messianic. The Messianic Jews live in Chernobyl. Chernobyl had a very large Jewish population for centuries. By the 18th century, it became a major center of Hasidic Judaism. Chernobyl was born there, led by Rabbi, founder of the Chernobyl. The Jews living in Chernobyl were overwhelming or not Messianic Jews. That wouldn't be true, because you would have Spaska Street, and I'm going to get into this. No, not historically. Jews who believe in Jesus or Christ. Messianic Judaism, where Jews believe in, did not exist as a recognized movement in Chernobyl's early centuries. They probably weren't recognized, but they were definitely there, because you had the name Spaska Street, and that does play a role in the future. What I'm about to say next, and why the missile is it's in Chernobyl. Pripyat stands in between Chernobyl town and the power plant, so only really began forming as a movement in the 1800s and 1800s. You could say that. Well, I don't know, actually. I give you credit. I don't know exactly, but I do know that there had to be Messianic Jews in Chernobyl at some point before the Soviet Union came along. So it could have been in this time period. I'll say that. I give them that. Long after Chernobyl came known as Hasidic stronghold. But yeah, that means that Jews from here probably named Chernobyl. They probably went over there, named Pripyat. Maybe. It's possible. In a traditional Jewish community like Chernobyl, belief in Jesus was absolutely forbidden. It would have been seen as extreme heresy. Okay, that makes sense. Because you had a street named Spaska Street, and it was the district for these Jews. So these could have been the Messianic Jews away from the other Jews. So they had their own street. I could see that. Even though there weren't Messianic Jews in Old Chernobyl, the fact that Chernobyl became one would later fits your bigger spiritual map. Deep Jewish faith. Messiah. If Messianic Jews had lived there, Chernobyl might have been spiritually redeemed, but they didn't. Instead, it became a symbol of bitterness, abandonment, and judgment, just like the just spell spirit tolerated Thyatira. No, historically, it was Orthodox. It represents the community that stayed close to life, the river, but rejected the true source of life, the Messiah. Bitterness, or just you're feeling it. Spaska Street in the town of Chernobyl for 1980. It was a real street. It was one of the central streets in Old Chernobyl, part of the district where Jewish, Ukrainian, Polish communities mixed. Like I said, you could have mixed your Jewish communities together there, or separated them with the Messianic Jews. But you would have to be Messianic to live on that street. Spaska comes from the word spas, meaning savior, and that's what it is. It's Christ our Savior. That's what it is. All right. So Spaska Street means Savior Street. Ran the main church areas and crossed close to the Pripyat River. It was connected to parts of Chernobyl, close to Orthodox Christian churches, Jewish community. Right. So this, if it being close to Orthodox Christian churches, they would be Messianic. After the disaster, the area around Spaska Street was abandoned like the rest of the town. But it was called Lenin Street in the Soviet Union. In modern Massachusetts, Chernobyl town, Spaska Street is in the northern part of the old town near Spaska means Savior, and yet the entire town turned into a bitter wasteland after a World War event. The street called Savior was present. The opportunity for separation was there, but it was ignored. It was about churches. The doors open, few enter. Life is offered, but many refuse. Had a Savior Street physically, but spiritually the people will cut off from salvation. The Savior is near. Alright.
What kind of businesses are you looking for?
Go home, Siri. In the end, Spaska Street became a silent monument, a street named Savior that could not save the town. I think it might have been called something else besides just Spaska. Let me Google that. Oh. Okay. It was not... I mean, it is called that, but it's like a longer word. It's this. So I don't know what this means. And this word is going to play later. After I'm done with this, I'm going to explain something. Alright. Feminine adjective, spas, in Russian, Ukrainian, Savior, referring to Jesus Christ in Christian context. Ending means belonging to or related to. So it's a street belonging to Jesus Christ or belonging to Christ. So Spaskaya literally means of the Savior or belonging to the Savior. Alright. We're going to get into something that relates to. Many ancient churches, gates, and streets in Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia were called Spaskaya because they were dedicated to Christ. I was about to go into this. Spaskaya Tower of the Kremlin in Moscow literally means the Savior's Tower. That's why the missile hits the Kremlin. It hits the Spaska Tower. We just call it, in the United States, we just call it the Moscow Tower, or the Clock Tower. It's the Clock Tower. And there's a reputation of this tower it's saying that it protects Russia from foreign invaders, and that's why they have a lot of respect for this tower. It's on the eastern. Listen closely, on the eastern side of the Kremlin, and underneath the tower there's a gate. Every leader that comes through that leads Russia walks through that gate. It's the eastern gate in the eyes of Russia. You know, like how Israel has the eastern gate where Jesus walked through? Well, he didn't walk through. He was on a donkey on Palm Sunday, and he walked through it on Palm Sunday. So that's where that comes from. And every leader walks through it. Even Putin walked through it. And it's pretty much saying that you're the savior of Russia. That's the symbolism. Spaska always signals a sacred dedication to salvation. It is a very holy and specific word, not casual at all. So, when you have this missile that belongs to Christ, and it hits the Kremlin, hits the Spaska tower, and the symbolism is it protects them from foreign invaders because they're protected by God. When that hits, that's a big thing. That's no small thing. It's a violation not only to their beliefs, but it's also a violation to anyone on Ukraine's side, which could be the United States, anyone who's tied to you. It comes all down, and you see how big this is. I think you're starting to understand what I'm trying to get here. Symbolic meaning is Jesus Christ. It means belonging to the Savior. So if it belongs to the Savior, only the Savior can attack it. City or place dedicated to salvation. So street of the Savior, street belonging to Christ. You can also say tower of the Savior and tower belonging to Christ. The Savior was written to the map centuries before it fell, but no one understood or followed the meaning. They ignored it. The open door was present in the land. So you can see this as a gate. Chernobyl was a gate. Spaska, the open door, but the city walked past it into wormwood instead of walking through it into life. And I was probably I didn't know at the time, but I was actually on that street, probably when we were in this Jewish district in Chernobyl. It was on the outside it was kind of like on the outside, on the outskirts of Chernobyl town, on the edges. But we may have traveled on that street. I didn't know at the time, but that's probably what I did. They hid an offer of salvation right into the DNA of the town itself. You could literally walk down the Savior Street in Chernobyl and still die if you rejected salvation internally. Exactly the warning to terror in the world today. Alright. What is... I may have to end the video if someone's here. Alright, Savior Tower, the Tower of the Savior. Built in 1491. It's the most important sacred and iconic parts of the Kremlin. People are probably walking down the street. Alright, during the time when Moscow was becoming the center of the Eastern Orthodox Christian world. The giant red star on top originally had a cross, so the regime replaced it with a red star symbolizing communism. Alright, I see what they're going to aim for. The star's real fall. That could also be symbolism. That could be war. Well, at that point, it wouldn't be warning. It would happen immediately after. Main ceremonial gate of the Kremlin, used for official entrances, royal processions. Huge clock. The Kremlin chimes, tells national time. It's the heartbeat of Russia. Sacred religious meaning. In ancient times, people would remove their hats and bow when passing through it. It was literally seen as the gate of Christ into the heart of Russia. So you can say that when Christ returns, he's going to be walking through here. No one knows who he is, but he's going to be walking through this gate into the Kremlin. Originally, it was a holy gate, blessed by Christ, symbolizing Russia under divine protection. The cross was removed and a red star replaced it, symbolizing the fall into atheism, materialism, and hidden wormwood-level bitterness. Spaska Tower was the open door of salvation for Russia, but the door was corrupted, locked, and guarded by a star of the world instead of the morning star. So you know where the morning star is going to hit, right there. Even if they only hit that part, you don't even have to hit the Kremlin. If you hit that star, it's a sign. It's a symbol, guys. In Moscow was a gate the Savior replaced with a worldly star. The Savior was pregnant but rejected or forgotten. Spaska Street, local warning, Savior near but unseen. National warning, Savior once honored, now replaced. Philadelphia, the true remnant that walks through the open door. The Spaska Tower is the national mirror of what happened locally in Chernobyl. Both signs were given, and both were ignored. Now in your prophetic search, only the true Philadelphia, not America, not Russia, will receive the morning star. Star versus star. Who wins? I believe it's the Kremlin Tower, Moscow Tower, something like that. But after the Russian Revolution and the rise of the Soviet Union, although the name remained, the spiritual meaning was erased. Removing across from the top, bowing or showing a spectrum passing through it. Gate of the Savior, modern, just a clock tower, government gate, or military passage, no really openly acknowledged. It's called something. We call it something else in the West. Exactly like the church had a reputation for being alive, but we're spiritually dead. You know, like I said, Thyatira with Jezebel and the children. The gate that once meant salvation became a symbol of lost faith, including the name of the Savior, but denying the power. Exactly the kind of apostasy Revelation warned about before the coming of World War and the morning star. Alright. There's another name for it. If I had Google, I could just... But I want to show you what it means on you. No. Oh. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was... I've actually been to Disney World. I've actually been to Epcot in the World Showcase. I've been there before. There's a lot of things that you don't notice. But used as an official... Is that what I said? It just didn't understand what I was saying. I don't know what it's called. I'm trying to find out what we call it here. Because we don't know that it's called that. No, I don't see it. I'm gonna Google that. We call it something. I see Savior Tower. You've seen it, guys. It's on the red square. I don't know what we call that here. Is it like the Moscow Clock Tower? Maybe that's what people call it. Alright, the Kremlin Clock. I will show a picture. Here, how about this? Here, I'm going to show a picture of this. So you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen that. But yeah, now you understand it, why they would be Messianic Jews. Yeah, this is what it looks like. And you got that big red wall on the side, and this is on the eastern side. And right underneath it is the gate that you walk through. Yeah, right here. You see the gate? The eastern gate? I'm looking at the picture. Alright. So, that's how they connect. That's how Chernobyl connects to this tower. And why this would be... you can't see it, but there is a star in the top. Looks like a Christmas tree star. It looks like a pagan star. I wouldn't... If I looked at that, I wouldn't... If I saw that, I wouldn't necessarily see that as communism. I would think of it like as a pagan thing. But if you told me that it was Christ, then I would think, why is there a pagan star if it's Christ tower, you know? That's a pretty big gate too. I know you can't see it, but I clicked on one of these and I'm looking at it. Oh, another thing. So it's about 600 miles, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 690 kilometers. I was thinking kilometers, not miles. About 430 miles in straight line air distance. Travel by car. 500 driving time. They are physically close and were spiritually separated by betrayal, corruption, and denial of the true Savior. The bitterness of Chernobyl and the lost gate of salvation, Spaska Tower, and only a day's journey apart, but a journey apart spiritually. So, when I said in some videos ago, one or two, maybe three, I said that we don't have the technology to fire a missile that far. That's because we don't have a missile. We don't have any missiles in the United States publicly known that can travel that far. We don't have one. The furthest ones we have is HIMARS, but they can only travel like 200 miles max. When I say it like that, you wouldn't be using interconnect. That is not what you would use. Furthest. The only one that can do that is the HIMARS. And HIMARS is remotely controlled by the United States. This is going to be interesting. Because they're going to purposely see how this is going to... We already see how this is going to end up. It would actually be... It would be... It would be, I know it's HIMARS, Max. To this day, I believe it's 230 miles around there. Oh. Right. It's talking about right here. It's how far did we have to go? How far was it? 430 miles in a straight line. But it says in the future we got a precision strike missile. Precision strike missile. We need precision if we're going to hit a star, right? 500 plus kilometers, 310 plus miles. So we didn't have technology yet. And I had mentioned this, and I knew this about 2022. And I said, this, what they need is a missile that does not exist yet, but it has to be part of HIMARS. Because HIMARS has the most, it's known in Ukraine, it's known in the United States. HIMARS is accurate. It's controlled by satellites from people in the United States. High mobility artillery rocket system usually follows GMLRS. Standard rocket goes max 53 miles, way underneath what they need to hit the Kremlin from Pripyat. The newer can reach 93 miles. The upcoming Precision Strike Missile, PRSM, designed to replace ATACMS, will push over 310 miles. So once fully upgraded, HIMARS will be able to hit targets 500 km, more than 5 times further than its original setup. So it wasn't even designed yet, and I was talking about this. This wasn't even a thing, and this is even further than their more advanced ones that go up, that can actually travel across borders. I'm already over 30 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. They got the regular HIMARS. They got that in Ukraine. They won't give them the extended range, but they will give them the future ones, even if it was under the radar, right? And HIMARS have been hugely important in places like Ukraine because it's fast, accurate, hard to detect, and easy to move. It changed the battlefield massively when first deployed there. So, guys, I'll end it here. What do you guys think about all this? We finished all the parts, and what do you think about the big picture of this? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Because it's very symbolic how HIMARS has range limits, but the Morning Story doesn't. So, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.